Welcome to the NBC Universal Conferencing Center. Please enter the conference ID, followed by the pound key. Thank you. If you are the leader, press star now. There are 348 participants in this conference.
Yesterday marked a month since our last NHL game. I consider what the last month has brought some learning for me. I will have gone from what I felt I needed to be safe, provisions from food to hand sanitizer,
Everyone needs to stay home from work if they can.
to listening to that voice outside to forget what I wanted by tucking in, and then recently putting on what earlier seemed really klutzy, a mask. I found even the Ted Williams statue outside Fenway Park had a mask on it to show what was right. And then collectively further going outward to thanking daily with words or applause or that 7 p.m. salute of sirens and horns, those who couldn't tuck in and wore their masks and all that gear with such courage.
We are strong and united and will not give up in the fight to save lives.
And over this month, I learned that credit cards were less germy than cash, and even millionaires,
I'm going to donate $1 million.
and those with very little, are generous.
I'll have $900 saved up.
And now we also have, if you collect bobbleheads, one of Dr. Fauci. But my dream is when all of us who travel and eventually get to a TV truck, or maybe we get to an announce booth for that long-awaited next game, and we look down at the start and the players are lined up on the blue lines and the lights are down and the spotlights are on. There will be a moment of silence, perhaps in an arena empty, and then a ceremonial puck drop that will involve a doctor or a nurse or some other hero or a virus survivor or sadly a virus victim's family. And then that heartening applause, if there are fans, or stick taps by the players, reserved for those who have sacrificed in a way that has nothing to do with sports. And then the introduction of the anthem, and I imagine the vocalist will have help from the crowd if there is one, and our professionals in the truck will show the flag and the singer, and those nervous players bobbing back and forth at the bench. Maybe some service personnel on the ice in a salute. And after that, if we can keep it together, a deep breath, and finally we get to do what we can do after all the time. Help people appreciate what they've been waiting to see, and being so grateful to all who helped us to get there. What a joyful day that will be for us, because finally, we get to help. That's what I'm dreaming of. And yet it cannot happen before it's time. And while we all wait and do what we can, even though it may seem like so little, I wish you a good and safe Easter and Passover.
The pictures were great, but the words made it all happen, and so too did the voice of hockey for so many of us. My colleague, my friend Doc Emrick, joins us now, 6-time Emmy Award winner. No one had been honored for their hockey play-by-play with the outstanding broadcaster in terms of a sports Emmy for play-by-play, and Doc has won it 6 times, and rightfully so. Doc, I want to get into career, I want to get into hockey, I want to get into so many things, your wardrobe, but I want to start with just the basics. One thing that just impresses me so much as someone who also holds a microphone is you have never lost the love of writing and how important that is. In a visual medium, words matter. Where does that, plus your incredible vocabulary, come from in the past that have made you the broadcaster you are?
I don't know, Mike. Perhaps both my parents were teachers in this small town in Indiana, and in our home, there was a concern that my brother and I used the correct language. I guess it was enforced. And I also had a fifth grade teacher who told me and our class that any word that we were able to use 5 times belonged to us for life. So we were encouraged to build vocabulary. And when it came to broadcasting sports, an announcer when I was in graduate school in Dayton, Ohio, named Lyle Stieg, who just passed away a year ago, said in hockey, and you can appreciate this, Mike, if there's so many repetitive actions that if you can come up with different ways to say the same thing, it will not drive people crazy. That was how he put it. So there was not any conspiratorial thing about it. It's just gradually how it worked. But I do enjoy reading and I do enjoy writing, and I've had plenty of time to see Charlie Sheen strike out a New York Yankee for the third time, and I got to see Field of Dreams again last night, and all of those classics that we do spend time watching, and I admire good writing and good delivery of it, like dipping ourselves in those magic waters again. Those things really appeal to me.
Well, that piece is an example of it. And Doc, we should take a second, because in the television world, if we write a tease or write an essay, our work is there, but the editors, the creative producers who find the right music, the right pictures, the right editing pattern, they really take our words and make them sing. And I know one of the things that you miss and love so much is that crew that you and Eddie Olczyk and everyone works with on the hockey crew, as we all have in every sport. Those are the people who can take what we do and really elevate it to this level of greatness that we so often see from you.
You're absolutely right, Mike. And there were 5 people that worked on that. This was, as you saw, a presentation that was made to a conference call group of about 300, 350 people. And it was audio only. And 5 people put that together, came up with the music, dug out all of the news footage and the hockey footage, and spent 4 days getting that ready for release yesterday. So congratulations to all of them.
Yeah, and thanks to all those folks. Now, when you see us in the 2 boxes, you see that I'm wearing my NBC golf swag, because NBC Golf has good swag, and I've been lucky enough to do it.
You're a good man.
But what Doc is wearing takes the... Doc, your wardrobe today takes the cake. You're taking us back. You're taking us back to Paul Newman in 1977. A little bit of slapshot love there.
Oh, it's just classic hockey. You know, I saw Ahmed. He had his Barry Sanders jersey. So here's one that comes from my childhood, right. And this is the first team and the team that I still love, the Fort Wayne Comets. Although they've changed the emblem, this was the spaceman that they came with in the 1950s, and this with the Captain C and the number 11 on the back for Len Thornton, and he still lives in Fort Wayne and is a part of the Comets alumni. And you never forget the team that you cheer for, and I can still cheer for them because I don't do their games or any of their competitors. They're in the ECHL. They are done until next fall, but you never forget that. I did, along with the Charlestown Chiefs, I brought a keychain. You know, you can't get these in stores.
Okay.
And you should know that Matt Grizzly,
right,
who is from Charlestown, I was able to get a second one from the Henson brothers and give it to him. Anybody from Charlestown should have a keychain because they are hard to come by. Mike Milbury, last year during the Boston Columbus series, we were talking about the time that Andre the Giant visited the Boston Bruins dressing room. Only 7'4", only 500 and some pounds, and he apparently picked up Derek Sanderson and Bobby Orr. And Mike showed a picture of that. And then he was wandering through antique stores in Columbus, and he found this, and he presented it to me on the air. And I still have it. It's next to my trophy case right behind me here. It's funny what toys you can bring along. I have my Bill Mazeroski 1959 card right next to me. Anyway, there's probably something else you want to talk about.
No, this is great. A tour of Doc's house. You know, Doc in his Fort Wayne Comets jerseys. Who would want anything more when we're all quarantined and shut in? All right, let's talk some hockey. Why don't we, Doc? Do you think, let's say things go well and we're able to salvage something of where we were in this season? Do you think it would be fair to pick right up with the playoffs?
Well, all along, the NHL has said what has to happen would be fair. If we started right off with the playoffs, when we paused, some teams had played anywhere from 68 to 72 games. So to make it fair, if you started right off in the playoffs, with the standings being unequal, one possibility would be to crank everybody's standings back to the minimum of 68. Not everybody's going to be happy. But if that happened, the Islanders would be in. I figured this out, but of course, my figuring, I don't do my own taxes, Mike. My figuring has to be checked by other people, and so we had the research department check, and sure enough, the Islanders would be in the playoffs. And they would be playing Washington, and there would be a first tiebreaker that would have to be settled between Washington and Philadelphia for the Metropolitan Division, and Washington would eke it out on the basis of overtime wins. And the second tiebreaker out in the West would belong to Vancouver over Nashville, the first tiebreaker, and Nashville would get the second. And then that's if the league even adopted the notion of going back to the minimum that everybody had, which was 68. See, you have time when we sit like this and you come up with these ideas. Probably has no credence whatsoever. But in fairness, I think you would have to have something equal if you were going to start right off with the playoffs. One thing the NHL has said that's sacrosanct in all of this is the start of next season, and that would need to be in early October. And so the league, being very smart about these things, has a plan B, C, D, and E, depending upon when it is safe to get back. And it is an understatement to say that the league and the Players Association consider the safety of everyone involved to be paramount.
Right. As is the case that we keep talking with each league and each one in different scenarios in the calendar, impacting all of them. And Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, the rest of the folks of the NHL, detailing all those potential scenarios as we go through. And then, Doc, there's the question of, okay, if there is hockey, and we do come back with something sometime down the road, likely without fans at the beginning. That's been a conversation of hockey and basketball and baseball. Just curious for you, what would that be like to be working games, working Stanley Cup playoff games, without one of the key elements that have made it so memorable and special, and that's the roar or the silence of the building?
The first couple of games, I think, would be okay, because you would have, first of all, you would have the home team, especially if they did well. There would be some noise from inside the building from arena personnel, for one thing, but it would be inadequate compared to a fan base. There would be energy coming from both benches, which would be audible because there would be nothing else. But I think after those first couple of games, we would certainly miss it a lot, because so much of what we rely on for the energy in the arena comes from the fan base. And the other question, which is one of those that has been raised and there have been surveys taken, is how quickly the fans will be comfortable in coming back. And even though there are percentages that have been offered, there's no way to examine each fan's heart to know what the answer is. I think because of the energy that we would feel the first couple of games from the benches, it wouldn't be as noticeable as it would be as we moved on. And I think the other thing too, there was a statement made at one of the briefings that handshakes probably would never be a part of life again. Handshakes are such a part of our playoff history. I would understand that there would probably not be a handshake line, but I would sure miss it.
Doc, all this time, you think of all these scenarios. I've thought about those handshakes in golf. I had never thought about the end of a series, and I only had the chance to do one playoff game last year, and it happened to be the end of that Islanders Penguins opening round series. And I remember when we got to the handshakes, all the years of watching you do those series and how special those handshakes are and how emotional that is. You get very connected with the players and what we've seen build up for 4 to 7 games. I never thought about that. That is such a memorable part of all these series. That would be so odd not to have that at the end of one of those true sports battles that we had. Such a great point.
It is, because you have the animosity of playing every other day. And if it goes 7, there are, by that time, there's some real hatred that takes place between players. And I remember David Backus of St. Louis was put out by Brent Seabrook and missed games, but returned.
Mm-hmm.
And the handshake line showed a genuine exchange and hammering each other on the shoulder pads in good nature. And I thought, gee, I love this sport, because it's understood that that's a part of the sport and it's a part of competing. And maybe it went over the line, but you understand that it could have been the other way too. And it all dissolves. This entire season dissolves after 7 hard games, and it's okay. Good luck next round.
All right, before you leave, I got to put you on the spot. I need like 3 or 4 Doc Emrick verbs. I need ladling, sending, careening around. I just need a couple of the Doc-isms that I'm missing at night. So just give us a few on the way out, will you please?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, gee. Hatcheting. You know, there was a player on the Philadelphia Flyers whose name was Rick Tocchet, who now is coaching in Arizona.
Right, of course.
And he would come down the right wing and he'd draw the stick back so far that he would look like he was trying to cut down a tree. And his equipment manager, Jim Turk Evers, would say that's pretty much the way that he shot the puck, but he was pretty successful. So hatcheting was one that was designed primarily for him. Bill Guerin, who is now the general manager in Minnesota, would come down the wing and he would finesse his way by the defense. And so he would be sashaying by the defense. And now he, of course, laughs about all of that because he wears a suit to work when he resumes work, too. So those are a couple anyway, Mike. I'm so glad that you asked me.
That's perfect.
You're a good man.
Thank you. What's the whole goal of all these conversations and we're sharing with some of the people we miss, just to make us smile, to forget what's going on out there. And thanks for a reason to tear up a little bit at the beginning of this segment and smile at the end. The Emmy Award winner, the great Doc Emrick, the voice of hockey for so many of us. Doc, stay well, you and your family, and we'll be in touch along the way here.
Yes, and I occasionally conclude interviews, and I hope you'll be tolerant of me. When it gets started,
sure.
Let's go Bucks.
I love it. Nothing like it. Thanks, Doc.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.